Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here, and we're doing a little bit of classics. Classics mixed with just vintage beer in the form of Brook. It is their Kentucky Bastard. I love this beer. I have not had it in several years. It was introduced to me by the Canadian beer tubers, Maxwell Star, Albino Rhino, the whole gang up there when I used to go up to Canada quite a bit more often, pre-pandemic times. But we've got it here in the States for a decent skosh. But I don't pick it up all that much because I used to buy it at really good price points. This used to come in at $7.50. For like 13 American dollars. Now it comes in a 500 milliliter bottle for pushing $20. So just that internal thing that kind of beats at me going, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. You can get it for $13. I felt like buying it today. So here we are. Now what are we drinking here? This is an Imperial Stout brewed by Brook Brewing Company out of Burlington, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. Kentucky Bastard, aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels. It says here, we kicked up a notch with our Bolshevik Bastard, which is the base for this beer, which is quite fantastic on its own accord. Imperial Stout aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels. The rich chocolate coffee and dark fruit flavors from our Imperial Stout are married together with the vanilla, oak, and warming alcohol from bourbon barrels. Together as one, the result is a incredible blend of aroma and taste. Very modest. It's 11.9% alcohol by volume. Extra strong beer, as Canada is known to do. Done. You still get that fancy little waxy things going on. So I could dig on it. We got this little... Here, maybe we can do it up here. Thin glass. And now we need a bottle opener. Let's do it to it. I'm in an old plain Starfield. Most of you are probably doing the same thing. I'm not a big, Fallout, Bethesda person, but there's something about the game that has me my interest peaked, so I figured I'd dive in. Just started it, just named my character and did the whole beginning intro thing, and I figured, I kind of want to do this review, get it over with, so I figured I'd pause. We dive into this sucker, and I'll go back to my gamins. Yeah, this was like really honestly a very influential beer for me when it came to barrel-aged beers. I think it was kind of relatively OG. Not that it was super OG, but as far as barrel-aged beers, we're talking around the turn of the teens, early teens, so like aughts to teens. It was there, man. It was up there, and honestly, it was one of my favorite ones. They do a Winey Bastard wine barrel aged one. I've reviewed both of these, but it's been several years. Might even be 10 plus years in some of these. And I'm excited to dive into it because it's been so long. I know where this bottle came from. At least it's been on the shelf for quite some time, and just that price point kind of precluded me from picking it up. But I decided today was the day. Label-wise, it looks almost exactly like the old school label, just in a much smaller bottle. And as far as the beer goes, it looks all the part of a big, robust Imperial Stout. Barrel-aged Imperial Stout, I should put it that way. Because you give it a big swirl, you give it a big kind of like toss it around in that glass. It doesn't really generate a big head, but there's a head to be had. So there's a decent amount of carbonation left. Nice, rich kind of malted malt bulk color head to it, and that rich, dark kind of body. Looks all the part of a barrel-aged beer. Let's get a nose. Very chocolate forward. And I think I remember saying this now on a review previously when I reviewed this years ago. Very much cherry cordial. And by cherry cordial, I mean like grandma candies. I haven't pulled that one out of the basket in a while. So, you get like those candies that your grandma, or now you are a grandma because I'm old and I'm getting close to that. It's just that what was the name of the company? Can't think of it right now. But you get that box of candies, you open it up, and there's like a plastic vellum, like clear plastic thing that says what each chocolate is, and you pull it out, and you have no idea what's in there, and you're just hoping you get the peanut butter one or the like that cluster, peanut butter cluster one. and you're just picking at them, and then every now and then you get like that dark chocolate with like a cherry cordial kind of thing. You pull that one out and you go, okay. You don't really want that one. You're like, it's more adulty. But you pick it out and you're like, yeah, I didn't really want that. But after eating it and savoring it for a bit, and you're like, it's pretty damn delicious. That's kind of where this comes off. It has this nice, rich kind of cherry cordial kind of thing on top of this big kind of non-sweetened kind of chocolate vibe to it. I mean, the barrel's coming through. You're getting a bit of that coconut, a bit of that vanilla. That's adding to that kind of chocolatey kind of confectionery, I should say, more than chocolatey kind of sweetness. And then you have that rich roasted malts marrying between the two that gives you your chocolate. And just comes off as a really nice barrel-aged beer. It's nothing over the top, nothing gonna change the world, at least on the nose. But you're also talking to have a little bit of age in this. You know, we're talking 2017 in this bottle. We're 2023, closer to 2024 than anything. So you're talking about 6 years on this. I'm kind of impressed how it's held up so far. So let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. That's delicious. Actually has this little vinous characteristic to it that I really don't remember this beer having. So maybe that is just a new batch variation on top of age. I don't know. But it's almost like a little bit of, it's not sour. It's vinous in the way a wine grape can be, kind of tannic, a little acidic. Very minimal, but it's definitely there. Mouthfeel's actually really enjoyable. Really, really nice. I'm not going to be confused with like 5C thick, but it has really nice dense mouthfeel to it. That chocolate malt, that rich, roasty, toasty Russian barrel-aged imperial stout of the base of this beer, that Bolshevik bastard, really does come through. I mean, age has tempered it. It has kind of beaten it down a bit. But it really does still have this kind of like staunch kind of like, okay, I'm an imperial stout. I have roasty, toasty malts, but I have this nice kind of bitterness to me too. So yeah, I'm still kind of kicking around. On the other end of things, you have that nice barrel. Again, it's this weird kind of mixture between a nice kind of bourbon spirit and this little bit of vinous characteristic. Maybe it's a little, kind of suggestive thing about the whole whiny bastard thing that I said earlier. I don't think that's the case. I actually think this has this subtle vinous characteristic that is not even close to anything being infected or off flavor or anything like that. I think it's just a really cool kind of combination of, one, a chocolate characteristic. We're leaning to that kind of cherry cordial thing we talked about earlier. This chocolate characteristic, this red cherry core that you tend to get a lot from really well done kind of Russian Imperial Stouts. For me, more often than not, some of the tentpole Russian Imperial Stouts, whether it be Kerr's Russian Imperial Stouts or Destruce's Black Albert, those kind of beers really do have this kind of cherry kind of core to it without even the spirit being involved. And then once you throw that spirit barrel on top of it, with what it brings to the table, with that little bit of barrel char, a little bit of vanilla, coconut, all those kind of things, it adds this kind of little confectionery kind of cherry cordial thing on top of it. Not gonna lie to you. A different beer than what I remember, but as enjoyable, if not better. I think it's delicious. Carbonation's on point. No negative off flavors. Just a little bit more kind of outside of that typical bourbon barrel aged characteristic that I'm used to. In a very good way. It's not a negative thing. It just has like almost like a terroir kind of flora and fauna kind of bourbon characteristic to it. Not necessarily that the beer itself is wild fermented or anything like that, but it's almost like the bourbon has extra levels to the way it expresses itself on a fruit kind of spectrum, as opposed to just that straight, just generic red cherryness that I typically get from most bourbons. It's a really tasty beer. Creepily drinkable. I can put down this glass way too easy. And honestly, it's one of those things where at the get I was talking about how, the price point kind of sucks because I used to get these. This was $12.99 a $7.50. it almost like wrote the baseline for which I would love to get beers. Now, granted, this is, bourbon barrel aged beer in its heyday, or not its heyday, it's an an inception, not inception, but at least it's upcomingness, upcomings, yeah, anything. You know what I'm talking about. But it's also Canadian beer, so it's like, it was $12 American, so it's probably more like 13, 14, 15, 16 bucks Canadian. And I just viewed it as like the ultimate value. It just hit that kind of cross section at the perfect time when this beer was like just super cheap as far as an American beer drinker that would go over to Canada to get beer, and now it's less beer, more money. Kind of hurts, but let's step back from that. Let's actually step back and talk about the beer as far as what it tastes like and is it worth it. 500 milliliter bottle, this level of barrel age, this level of quality beer. I have a really hard time kind of getting pissed off at it. In a perfect world, where do I place this? 16, 17 bucks. I think it can be had for that too. I think I might have bought this at a slightly inflated price, but that was also like 5 minutes away from where I live, so I think that's almost like I'm paying a tax for that price point. But you give this to me at 16 to 17 bucks a bottle, I think I'm a happy person, very happy person. 20 bucks, I'll buy it every now and then, but I'll kind of grumble underneath. But if you give this to me in the 750, $12 American, I'm kind of angry that I'm buying it at that price, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, almost like, man, Brook should make a little bit more money. But I'd still be happy. So there you go. No, honestly, maybe it's a little bit of a romanticism inside of me and all those kind of things when it comes to this beer, but it tastes different, but as enjoyable, if not better, than what I remember. And I think that's a really good thing. Yeah. Actually, I have no idea where Brook is. Not necessarily as a brewery. I know they're close to Toronto, but as far as a brewery, like now, you're talking about 6 years later. This has been sitting on a shelf in New Jersey for 6 years. I don't know where they are as far as like what they produce and if they still distro the United States and all that fun stuff. All I know is I know where to find this, and it's close to my house. And if I want to get some, I can get some. That does not suck. Is it one of the better barrel-aged stouts that I've had as of late? Yes. Mount Rushmore status. It's worthy. It's very much worthy. Kind of want to put it up there, but at the same time, just maybe just a hair off. But I think that might be that inner kind of, I wish this was still like cheaper kind of butthurt, this guy. And saying, if you're like, what? Will you like this? If you like barrel-aged beer, if you like wine barrel-aged beer, you want something that meets in the middle, because that's where this one kind of lands. I'm kind of curious to see what y'all think. So let's skip to that point. Brook, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had Whiny Bastard? Have you had Kentucky Bastard? Have you had them back in the day? Have you had them recently? At least the 2017 version when it originally came out, more specifically closer to this day. How has it changed for you? Is it different? Have you had like different experiences with it? Is it completely different to what you've had? All that fun stuff down there. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Brook right now. And we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.